All right, happy Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh Sameach. So the Bible says that on Rosh Chodesh in Isaiah, Yeshayahu 66:23, everyone on Rosh Chodesh and every week on the Shabbat, everyone living will come to worship in my presence, saith the Lord. So it's a little bit a change of our schedules because we wanted to maximize our time here, our time in this place, and in our last place, we were able to use the place anytime that we needed it, the nights off within the week. But here in this place, they are using it nightly on the other ministries that we are sharing the space with. So we would like to try to go around our schedules and hopefully that we will still be complying with the mitzvah, complying with the schedules for our congregation. And still we will have time of fellowship and be together for the Lord. It's Rosh Chodesh, as I was telling our class our Hebrew class. Rosh Chodesh is the Rosh is 10. Chodesh is from Kadesh renewal, so it's like the new moon that comes every now and then. So that changes the month. The mark in the skies for that one is the sliver of the moon, the new moon. So that marks the changing of the month. Of course, in our Gregorian calendar, we wouldn't see it because it's already preset in Gregorian calendar for 30 days and 31 days. Anyway, we have a lesson for that one. Brother Martin has a lesson for this. If you go to our YouTube videos, there's a lesson that is included on the Rosh Chodesh and the beginning of months, the beginning of the biblical holidays that we would see in our Bibles. All right, so maybe let's all stand up and let's just say the blessings for this coming month. Let's read the Berchat. Berchat HaKodesh is Berchat is blessings, or Baruchu, blessing, or Bracha is blessing. Right? So Berchat HaKodesh, T blessings, HaKodesh for the month. Okay, let's read.
Be thy will, Lord God, God of our fathers, that you begin for us this month, for good and for blessing. May you give us long life, may have peace, a life of goodness, a life of sustenance, a life of physical health, a life of which there is fear of heaven and fear of sin, a life of which there is no shame or humiliation, a life of wealth and honor, a life of which we love God and fear God, a life in which the Lord fulfills the requests of our hearts for good. Amen.
Right, thank you. Please be seated. For now, we are going to read our readings for Shabbat. And we would like to ask any volunteers who would like to read our portion from Deuteronomy chapter 24. From the prophets, who would like to read from the prophets? That's from Hosea, Brother Garrett, and the apostolic writings, Titus. You want to read Yochahima? All right. Titus chapter 2 for you. Today is a special Shabbat. It's called Shabbat Chazon, or Shabbat of Vision. This coming Tuesday is the 9th of I hope you have read our newsletters. The 9th of Av is connected with the things that have happened throughout history in Israel, that the very common thing that happened there is the destruction of the first temple and the second temple. And then, of course, there are also other events that happen in the night of Av. So that is why the people of Israel have been relating the night of Av as a dark day, or there might be something wrong that is coming on the night of Av. The rabbis of old associated the night of Av with the declaration of the spies that went to Canaan land when they came back and they gave a negative report. So now that was they said that brought in the beginning of the not good reports during the night. Of course, that is not founded, but it's there. It became a legend where they would like to connect the night of Av. So, and of course, today is we do not know the people of Iran might do a preemptive attack on the night of Av. This coming Tuesday. So we are going to pray for that event. Right now they are preparing. So the nation of Israel is expecting that there might be a war coming or is boiling right now. Hopefully it will not be on the night of Av on Tuesday. Okay, so that's why Shabbat Kazon, now going into Shabbat Kazon. Shabbat Kazon is the Shabbat prior to the night of Av, which is usually it's a prophetic word later in Isaiah chapter 2. We're going to read that one. Who likes to read Isaiah chapter 1? All right, Brother Wesley, let's read that later on. Next Shabbat would be a start of a series of Shabbats called the 7 Shabbats of Comfort. 7 Shabbats of Comfort that prepares our hearts to the biblical holiday of Yom Teruah, or the holiday of blowing of the trumpets. And these 7 Shabbats, we will have readings of comfort, the comforting words from all will come from the book of Isaiah. And that will be it's kind of a ladder. And the hitting point will be Yom Teruah, or the changing of the year, the Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah becomes the new year in the Hebrew month. It became how do we say, it's not really a turning of the year, but what biblical holiday really that we are celebrating on the day is Yom Teruah, or the blowing of the shofars, the blowing of the trumpets. Okay, anyway, please read the newsletters. We will just be giving bits of information in our newsletters every week. Okay, let's start with the reading of Deuteronomy chapter 24. If you have your Bibles with you, and open with us in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 up to 25 to 19.
So Deuteronomy 24 from verse 1, and I will read from the Tree of Life version. Suppose a man takes a wife and marries her. Now, if she doesn't find favor in his eyes because he has found something indecent in her, he is to write her a certificate of divorce, hand it to her, and send her out from his house. When she leaves his house, she may go and become another man's wife. Now, suppose the second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, and he hands it to her and she leaves his house, or suppose the second husband who took her to be his wife dies, then her former husband who sent her away may not take her again to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that will be detestable before Adonai. You are not to bring guilt on the land that Adonai your God is giving you as an inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he is not to go out with the army or have any duty passed over to him. He is to be free at home for 1 year and make his wife happy. No one is to take a pair of milestones or the upper one as collateral, for this would be taking a livelihood as collateral. If a man is caught kidnapping any of his brothers from Bnei Israel, whether he treats him like property or sells him, then that kidnapper must die. So you are to purge the evil from your midst. Take care in the plague Zaraat. Be careful to do all that the Levitical Kohanim instruct you. Just as I commanded them, so you are to take care to do. Remember what Adonai your God did to Miriam along the way when you were coming out from Egypt. When you make any kind of loan to your neighbor, you are not to go into his house to get his pledge. You are to stand outside, and the man to whom you are making the loan is to bring the pledge outside to you. If he is a poor man, you are not to sleep with his pledge. You must certainly restore the pledge to him when the sun sets, so that he may sleep in his coat and bless you. And it is to be righteousness for you before Adonai your God. You are not to oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he is from your brothers or the outsiders in your land within your town gates. On that day, you are to give him his wages. The sun is not to set on it, for he is poor and sets his heart on it. Otherwise, he will cry out against you to Adonai, and you will have sin on you. Fathers are not to be put to death for children, and children are not to be put to death for fathers. Each one is to be put to death for his own sin. You are not to twist justice for an outsider or orphan, and you are not to take as collateral a widow's clothing. For you are to remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and Adonai your God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this thing. When you reap your harvest in your field and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you are not to return to take. You are not to return. You are not to turn back to get it, for it is for the outsider, for the orphan, and for the widow, in order that Adonai your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat your olive tree, you are not to search through the branches afterward. It is the outsider, it is for the outsider, for the orphan, and for the widow. When you harvest your vineyard, you are not to pick over it afterward. It is for the outsider, for the orphan, and for the widow. You are to remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this thing. 25. Suppose there is a dispute between people and they approach the court and the judges hear their case and declare one righteous and the other guilty. Now, if the guilty one deserves to be flogged, the judge is to make him lie down and be flogged before him with the number of lashes in proportion to his guilt. He may strike him 40 times, but no more. Otherwise, he will beat him with too many a wound beyond these, and your brother will be degraded in your eyes. You are not to muzzle the ox while it is threshing. If brothers dwell together, and one of them dies and has no son, the dead man's wife is not to be married outside to a stranger. Her husband's brother is to go to her and take her as his wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law. Now, the firstborn that she bears is to carry on the name of his dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out of Israel.
Hosea.
No, it's not done.
So you see that down.
Yeah. But if the man does not want to take his brother's widow is to go to the elders at the gate and say, my brother-in-law refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He is unwilling to perform a brother-in-law's duty for me. Then the elders of his town are to summon him and speak to him. And if he stands firm and says, I do not desire to take her, then his brother's widow is to come to him in the sight of the elders, pull his sandal off his foot, spit in his face, and reply, so will it be done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. Then his name is to be called in Israel the house of the pulled off sandal. Suppose people fight with one another, a man and his brother, and the wife of the one approaches to rescue her husband from the hand of the one beating him, and she puts out her hand and grabs him by his genitals. Then you are to cut off her hand. Your eye will show no pity. You are not to have stones of different weights in your bag, large and small. You are not to have in your house ephahs of different measures, large and small. You must have a full and honest weight and a full and honest measure, so that your days may be long in the land that Adonai your God is giving you. For all who do these things, all who do injustice are detestable to Adonai your God. Remember what Amalek did to you along the way as you came out from Egypt, how it happened upon you along the way and attacked those among you in the rear, all the stragglers behind you, when you were tired and weary. You did not fear God. Now when Adonai your God grants you rest from all the enemies surrounding you in the land Adonai your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess, you are to blot out the memory of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget.
Amen. Right? Hosea, verse 10.
Verse 11. Hosea 10:11. Ephraim is the well-trained colt. He reads from the Holy Christian Standard. Ephraim is the well-trained calf that loves to thresh. But I will place a yoke on her fine neck. I will harness Ephraim. Judah will plow. Jacob will do the final plowing. Sow righteousness for yourself and reap faithful love. Bring the unplowed ground. It is time to seek the Lord. Till he comes and sends righteousness on you like the rain. You have plowed wickedness and reaped injustice. You have eaten the fruit of lies because you have trusted in your own way and in your large number of soldiers. The war of battle will rise against your people, and all fortifications will be demolished. In the day of war, like Shalman, destruction of Beth Arbel, mothers will be dashed to pieces along with their children. So will be done to you, Bethel. Because of your extreme evil, at the dawn of the king of Israel will be totally destroyed. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more they called them, the more they departed from me. They kept sacrifices to the Baals and burning offerings to idols. It is I who taught Ephraim to walk, taking them in my arms. But they never knew that I healed them. I left them like human cords, ropes of love. To them I was like one who eased the yoke of their jaws. I bent down to give them food. Israel would not return to the land of Egypt, and Assyria would be his king, because they refused to repent. The sword will whirl through his cities, and it will destroy the devourer the bars of his gates. Because of their schemes, my people are bent on turning from me. Though they call on him on high, he will exalt them at all. He will not exalt them at all. How can I give up Ephraim? How can I stray you, Israel? How can I make you like Abnah? How can I treat you like Zebulun? I have had a change of heart. My compassion is stirred. I will not vent the full fury of my anger. I will not turn back and destroy Ephraim. For I am God and not man, the Holy One among you. I will not come in rage. They will follow the Lord. He will roar like a lion. When he roars, his children will come trembling from the west. They will rouse like birds from Egypt and like doves from the lands of Assyria. Then I will settle them in their homes. This is the Lord's declaration.
Titus chapter 2, verse 11 to 14. Maybe you can come here if you so maybe you see the microphone so we can hear you.
For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people, instructing us to deny godlessness and worldly lusts, and to live in a sensible, righteousness, and godly way to the present age, while we wait for the blessed hope, the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Yeshua Messiah. He gave himself for us to redeem us from all lawlessness and to cleanse for himself a people for his own possession, eager to do good works.
Vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth. For the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children. They have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. Sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head. There is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises, putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devour it in your presence, and it is desolate. It is overthrown by strangers, as the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except the Lord of hosts hath had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs and of he-goats. When ye come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand, to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If ye be willing and obedient, ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse and rebel, ye shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. How is the faithful city become an harlot? It was full of judgment, righteousness lodged in it. But now murderers, thy silver is become dross, thy wine mixed with water. Thy princes are rebellious, and companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts, and followeth after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither do the cause of the widow come unto them. Therefore saith the Lord of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of mine adversaries, and avenge me of mine enemies. And I will turn my hand upon thee, and purely purge away thy dross. Take away all thy tin, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward, thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed with judgment, and her converts with righteousness.
Thank you very much for your wisdom. Shall we all stand up and maybe request Brother Martin to open us with prayer, please?
Father in heaven, creator of all things, we give you thanks, Lord, for the ability and freedom to come and worship together in your name. We ask, Lord, that you would open our ears and open our eyes and, Father, feed us with food of life. We ask that you guide each one of us, that you help each one of us to be an example to those around us, to be the light of the world, and the salt of the earth. We give you praise and thanks.
Amen. Remain standing. Let's give the blessing for the teaching. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us by his commandments and commanded us to engage ourselves in the study of the whole law in the name of Yeshua Messiah. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. We have the ladies to go with the presentation today. Okay, so today is a time for us to go ahead with our lesson on our equity classes. This will be our fourth session. And to those who are enrolled in our lessons, there is an assignment that we are going to give you after the lesson, and readings and videos to watch, and also a project after that. So every day we are already in our fourth class, and we have lessons that we go through in understanding Israel and what's happening with them, biblically, historically, culturally, and at this time we are going to understand anti-Semitism and an introduction to the Holocaust, which would be our next lesson next month during Rosh Chodesh Shabbat also. Right, so this is one of the, let's say, hardest, or one of the lectures that is hard to process or to go through emotionally, spiritually, because of the things that are happening in the world right now concerning Israel, or concerning in general the Jewish population of the world. And also spiritually, because the Bible speaks from Genesis to Revelation about the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. So for us, which are engrafted into the people of Israel, the Commonwealth of Israel, we are also in a way affected by what is happening with anti-Semitism and the Holocaust. Our course objectives, of course, number one again, is to communicate the love of the Messiah to the Jew and then to the non-Jew. These courses that we take in, the equipping classes, the Hebrew classes, are all integrated. So at the end of all of our lessons, we are able to communicate the love of Messiah to the Jewish people, and of course to our fellow families, to everyone that we meet. Number two is to serve Yeshua Messiah and to support the Jewish people, especially, of course, the Messianic community, or the believing community, and the land of Israel. Why the land of Israel? Because the land of Israel is the pupil of God's eye. Everything that happens in Israel, it would have an effect on the whole world. So we often say that the time, the the ticking of the clock is happening in Israel. Number three, to instill a love for the Jewish Messiah, the land of Israel, and the Torah. Number four, to instruct regarding Israel's past, the present, and the future. Number five, to provide short and long-term training in Messianic ministry. And that's why I was relating to our brethren who joined us in the Hebrew class a while back. When you finish our lessons, when you finish our courses, we are able to give you a certificate of completion, and that is also a credit towards the yeshiva that we are involved with in Massachusetts. The yeshiva that we have gone to with Brother Itune, last week, we had the United Messianic Jewish Assembly conference in Georgia, and all of these courses are embedded into their courses. So if you would like to go, you have the calling to pursue Messianic ministry, you are able to get these courses with us, and we would be happy to support you with that certification also. And it will give you a short or long-term training in Messianic ministry. Number five, to work with, support, and partner with existing Messianic ministries. So there are many Messianic ministries all over the world, and we are only a portion of that movement. Number seven, to assist in discerning call to the ministry. These courses that we are offering are bits and pieces for every one of us to know the Bible better, to know ourselves as believers in Messiah, and of course, and to fulfill our call in sharing the message of the gospel to everyone, to the Jew first, and then to the Gentiles, to the non-Jew. So for course review, our theme for the equipping classes is to love for God, love the Messiah Yeshua, love of the land and the people of Israel, and his Torah, or the Bible. Our text is Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. and 26 to 18. The principles that we have already finished is number one, scripturally sanctioned. Why we are doing this? Because it is scripturally based. Sharing the word of God is scripturally based. Loving the people of Israel is scripturally based. Loving God, loving the Messiah, loving the land of Israel, and loving the Torah is all scripturally sanctioned. So it is all on the Bible. Of course, it is also spiritually sensitive. There are many sensitivities that we have to be concerned of when we share the gospel to the Jewish people, and also not only to the Jewish people, but also to other individuals that needed to know the good news of the Messiah. So every culture has their own sensitivities, and we needed to be sensitive of those when we present the gospel to each and every individual. And our main topic today is, of course, knowing the sensitivities that we have to know in sharing the gospel, sharing the good news to the Jewish people. But of course, with that, as all as it is written in the Torah, our adversary, the devil, also has his plans. And that is what we are going to tackle this afternoon. The enemy is active, the devil is active in destroying the promises for Israel. And he would like to, even though he knows that he is defeated, at the end, he will always try his best also to destroy every promise that the Lord has given to Israel. So, we have also finished as we go along these courses, in inculcated or joined in to these courses are steps in reaching out to your Jewish friend. Or now we are at number 3, 7 steps to reach out to your Jewish friend. Or also, it might not be your Jewish friend, but also to any individual that you would like to share the word of God with. This also applies to our non-Jewish friends. Of course, number 1 is to pray for them. Romans chapter 10, verse 1. We pray for them and let God do the action, because He works at the back. I think that's not a good word. He doesn't work at the back. He works with all the things. He does the saving. It's not us. So we pray for them. Number 2, being spirit-filled. We need to be spirit-filled in sharing the gospel. Acts chapter 1, verse 8. Faith in the Lord is shown through us. So that is why one of our assignments, in our few courses, the last courses that we have, is to submit your testimonies, your 3-minute testimony, your 5-minute testimony, and your 10-minute testimony. Why 3 minutes? Why 10 minutes? Because at many times when we share the word of God, or when we share the good news to other people, our times may be limited. So the 3-minute testimony might be useful when we are in the train, when we are sitting down with some friend or some guy in the train station. So that would include your testimony. What was your life before? What was your life now that you have believed in Yeshua? And then how did Yeshua change your life? So those are 3 points that you put into your 3-minute testimony. Your 5-minute testimony would increase the events, increase more information. Maybe you have 5 minutes to spend with someone, so that is why you have 5-minute testimony. And then 10 minutes, right? And then maybe expand more on it. So with our students who are enrolled in this class, I haven't received some of your testimonies yet, so please submit it soon. as soon as possible when you have the time to do so. Number three, understand, of course, understanding Romans chapter 10, verse 2. And this session that we have now is one of the reasons why we are going through this. The reason we have this course here is we learn where are they coming from. Why have you ever asked yourself why is it hard to share the good news to Jewish individuals or even non-Jewish individuals, right? To non-Jewish people, why do you have a difficulty of sharing the gospel with them, sharing the love of the Messiah with them? Why they do the things that they do? And definitely, why do we see a short number of Jewish individuals that are um, readily showing their faith to the world that they believe in Yeshua Messiah as their Savior and Lord? Why is it hard for them to say that they are believers in Messiah? So these are the things that we are going through. So this session today is the anti-Semitism and Holocaust. So those are the two main reasons why it's very hard for our Jewish friends to readily know why they have to put on their faith in Yeshua Messiah. Although, of course, Judaism is the main faith that believes in the Messiah. They are the only religion that not religion, they are the only faith that pushes their people to believe in the Messiah. And now, of course, in another side of the balance, why was Christianity, who believes in the Christ or the Messiah, being looked upon as an enemy? So then, how do we look at this situation? Knowing their history, knowing their painful history, and the travail of the Jewish people would help us understand why. Now you have to understand this if you want to understand the chosen people. You have to understand their history. You have to understand the troubles that they are going through, so that we will understand them as a people and why they are so resistant in the Jewish Messiah. Go, brother.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sure, brother.
What I found is that one of the most common reasons that Jews completely reject Yeshua is because those in the Christian community that are preaching Yeshua to them, it's not just Yeshua, but it's also that Yeshua abolished the Torah. And they know Deuteronomy 13 as well as anybody, and they reject that outright. That's not possible. So there's no more discussion to be had. Once mainstream Christianity says Yeshua is the Messiah, oh, by the way, the Torah is abolished, they cannot accept that. Rightly so.
Which people say that? I've never heard anyone say that. I've never heard that. Tell me some particular quote, because I go to all kinds of churches, never heard it once. I've done that. I've gone to churches many decades, never heard that once. In all kinds of evangelical churches.
Let's go with the lecture so that I will show you some.
Thanks, I just wanted to show
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, but give a source when we show.
I will show you some of the sources that may be involved with this kind of statements. Okay, so here, number one is the Anti-Defamation League. The Anti-Defamation League is the worldwide organization of Jewish individuals. And in 2014, they have done a study, an index of anti-Semitism survey. that represents 86% of the world population. 26% of these studies, the people that they have, they involved in the study, or 26% is already 1.09 billion people. They harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Anti-Semitic means a non-agreeable attitude towards the Jewish people. 35% have never heard of the Holocaust. And 21% think that the Holocaust is a myth or an exaggeration of history. Even right now, people might say that it never happened. It never really happened. Although we have evidences all over internet and everything, and they would still say that no, that didn't really happen. It just, people just made it up, and because Jewish people control the media, so they just put it there. So kind of those, and many teach that of course it never happened. So now just think about this, that the low level of anti-Semitism, the lowest level of anti-Semitism is to destroy the mindset of individuals, or to let them know that it never really happened, that it's just a lie, right? The Holocaust is a lie. And that's it, that's the lowest level. Oh, sorry, what happened? In World Jewish Congress, another survey that they made, that in every 83 seconds, an anti-Semitic post is being uploaded to social media every 83 seconds. So that involves Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever, Google, and news outlets. So the rise of vandalism of Jewish cemeteries and monuments around the world is one of the very common, or let's say the very cowardliest thing that a person can do to express his anti-Semitic behavior. There are so many instances in the world right now that they would go to cemeteries and destroy the gravestones. They would paint any, let's say, graffiti on the tombstones. They would destroy. Can you imagine the people are already dead, right? What would they do if people would go and destroy their gravestones? Nothing. It's the same thing also that is happening here in Calgary. People have the audacity to spray paint Jewish tombstones in Shaughnessy, and also they try to enter the graveyard in 22X. And there are also many different instances that in Calgary we have seen that there's spray paints in different synagogues, and even also Messianic synagogues that we have. So again, I would say that this would be a lowliest or a cowardly attack to the Jewish individuals. It's an evil thing, and it's very sick, very sick. People are not getting nicer to Jewish individuals every day. It's getting worse. Here's the thing. You give the right circumstance to an anti-Semitic individual. You give him the right environment, and people will always look for a scapegoat on which to blame the world's problems. So you would say, what's happening here in Calgary, what's happening in the States, in the US, what's happening in other countries of the world? They would say, no, what the core problem is the Jewish people. That's the main reason. People would always look to blame the Jewish society, the Jewish community in this world's problem. And we could say that, of course, they are the most targeted people, the Jewish people. Like here, this is a Jewish individual. It's like there's always a target on their backs. Here in 2019, ADL tabulated 2,107 anti-Semitic incidents throughout the US. This is a 12% increase from the 1,879 incidents that are recorded in 2018 and marks the highest number on record since ADL began tracking anti-Semitic incidences in 1979. Just a few days ago, I read in the news that there is this guy who came from Israel who is pursuing a medical course. He wants to be a physician here in Canada because, of course, Canada gives good, it's kind of a dream nation. You could do anything here in Canada. So he came from Israel, and then he was looking for a mentor physician to help him train to become a good doctor. So the mentor said, you know what, scrap everything that identifies you are Jewish. The high school you came from, that you can speak Hebrew in everything. So you will be successful in the medical community here in Canada. So why are the Jewish people so hated? Okay, so we know about, of course, the Holocaust. Do you know that the Holocaust just didn't happen? The years that propelled the Holocaust was in Europe, right? But Europe during that time is undergoing this so-called Enlightenment stage. They're becoming knowledgeable of everything. It's called Enlightenment Europe. And what happened is, of course, it started, of course, during the early 1800s too, which is where there's another term for Renaissance, right? Where the beginning of the printing press, there's religious enlightenment, everything. And Germany also was in the forefront of this enlightenment of Europe. The more educated the people is, the more sophisticated it became. But that's how I think our human nature is. The more we know, the more sophisticated that we know, the more our hearts needed to change. The more we become hardened in our hearts. Okay, so first of all, of course, Brother Martin has said a while back that there is anti-Semitism already. When a guy or an individual would say that the abolishment of the Torah and believing in Yeshua would mean the abolishment of Torah, or the belief of the abolishment of Torah, or the abolishment of in a common language, the Old Testament, or putting it down in the 5 books of Moses. Now, what are the real causes for anti-Semitism? Number one, of course, is ignorance. Romans chapter 11, verse 18 to 25. Maybe I would like to ask those who have scriptures with you to help me out in here. So I wouldn't give me much time in my Bible. So if you are at Romans 11, you could open with me. Just let me know if you're there so you could start reading it aloud. All right, I'm there first, so I'm going to read Romans 11:18. So Romans 11:18, it says, "Do not boast over the broken branches and exalt yourself at their expense. If you do boast and feel superior, remember that it is not you who supports the root, but the root that supports you." In verse 25, let me read that one. I do not want you believers to be unaware of this mystery, that God previously, of course, didn't or hide this mystery, so that you will not be wise in your own opinion. That a partial hardening has temporarily happened to Israel until the full number of the non-Jewish individuals has come to believe in him. Okay, so what is this ignorance time of the time I'm telling you? Even believers in Messiah, even so-called Christians in the Christian community, are ignorant of the facts that God still loves the Jewish people, that God still has a plan for them, because of the commonality of the teaching that the Christian community already has changed the Jewish individuals. Like when the God's chosen people now becomes the Christian community, and that has been propagated in many of Christian in the Christian community. Let's say more in modern Christianity. God did not reject them, and as it said here in Romans chapter 11, we as believers in Messiah, we should support the root. We don't support the root. Instead, the root is supporting us. So meaning to say that we as believers in Messiah, we are being supported by who? Of course, Yeshua, who is a Jew, who lives in Israel, who spoke Hebrew, who have talent of fringes when he was living here. He didn't abolish the Torah. He didn't fight the religion of that day. However, right now, because of course of many seminaries that have liberal ideologies and teachings, they are teaching that there are already being done away with. They are not, the Jewish people are not important. Israel is not important. The Torah is not important. What is most important now, of course, is the New Testament. Right? And there is a very prominent pastor in the United States that they say that we have to unhinge ourselves from the teachings of the Old Testament. Number 2 is man's depraved nature. Okay, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 3. Anyone? 1 John chapter 3, verse 10.
Ephesians 2:3. Among these unbelievers, we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, our behaviors governed by the sinful self, indulging the desires of human nature without the Holy Spirit and the impulses of the sinful mind. We were by nature children under the sentence of God's wrath. just like the rest of mankind.
Thank you very much. 1 John 3 then?
Okay. In this, the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother.
Thank you. Of course, so man's depraved nature. We all know that our nature is always on the side bend. You could say that our tendency is natural to do evil. The tendency for us is to fight against God. The tendency for us is to sin. And that's human nature. And because of that, we never improve to be good. Although some would say that it is inherent to man that we are good, right? Because we are the creature of God. But sometimes when we are put in a position to decide between good and evil, it is more the pull of the evil nature or the human nature pulls us to do the not good. And this is abominable to God. So even we, as believers, we could say that we are capable of sin. Even though that we are believers, yes, we are able to do sin still. Now, how much more those who do not know the Lord? Would you think that their morals will be higher than us who are believing in the God of the Bible? Who do not have the spirit of Messiah living in them? Number 3, of course, the last cause for anti-Semitism is the enemy, the dragon.
Yeah, when the dragon saw that he was thrown down to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child.
All right, so that would be read in a cryptic note. Who is the woman? Israel. And in here, from beginning to end, of course, from beginning to end, the enemy hates anything from God and tries to destroy us. Even though, as I said a while back, even though at the end he knows that he will fail, he will always try to destroy Israel. Because God's name, why? Because God's name and the covenants are with Israel. It's always attached to them. And aside from Israel, those believers are the ones that are attached to the name of God. He would always go after them. And of course, we know that he will not prevail, but it doesn't make him stop in trying to destroy. How? So these are 3 schemes of the enemy. Is how the enemy will do it. Number 1, of course, the enemy will always take advantage of people who doesn't know God. Number 1, of course, is anti-Semitism. Number 2, anti-Zionism. Number 3, anti-nationalism. Although both of these, number 2 and 3, we'll be discussing this later on because this would give differing opinions. But I will go first with anti-Semitism. And we'll focus on anti-Semitism first. So what is anti-Semitism? Historically, the definition of anti-Semitism is hatred or prejudice or discriminatory attitudes that are directed against the Jewish people as a race or ethnic group. Okay, so I think by now you would know what I mean. What are the in the Bible, in the Torah? Open with me Esther chapter 3 verse 8 to 9, and this is a very classic example, and this is not even in modern times. So let's go to Esther chapter 3 verse 8 to 9.
So, do you want me to read it?
Yes, for sure, Brother Andrew.
Yeah, with this cell phone, finding Bible verses takes a while, but I did get to that one.
Okay.
Okay, so Esther chapter 3, verses 8 and 9.
Yes.
Then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of all other people, and they do not observe the king's laws. So it is not in the king's interest to let them remain. If it is pleasing to the king, let it be decreed that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who carry on the king's business to put into the king's treasuries.
Okay, so thank you very much. Right. I'll let you put a mark on these words. Number one, there are certain people. So now the people are identified. Their laws are different. And because they have different laws, they do not comply. The last one, of course, he said, because they do not comply with our laws, then the only thing that we need to do is to eliminate them. So that is the anti-Semitic progression. Once we identify the ethnic group. So in here, what did Haman identify? The Jewish people. They have laws that are different. They have the Torah. And of course, our laws are different from them, so they're not complying with this world's laws. The only thing, and there are so many. What do we need to do? Is to eliminate them. Now, how is anti-Semitism manifested over the years from this one? So number one, of course, the people, the certain people, the Jewish people, they don't have no right to live as Jews. Not U.S., as to live as Jews. So we identify them already, right? We have made an identification that these people, the Jewish people, we distinguish them, we identify them. They don't want to be like us. What do we need to do with them? Eliminate them. So that's the, as I said, anti-Semitic progression. The number one is they have no right to live as Jews. How? So they need to stop to be Jewish, or we need to stop them to be Jewish. So here is how the progression was made in history. So the Catholic Church, of course, or maybe before pre-Christianity, we 300 years before that, we would see already the anti-Semitism. When there are Jewish individuals, they would hate them eventually. Even in the New Testament, we would see already the Roman oppression of the Jewish people, and then towards the end. So that is why, of course, AD 70 they came and conquered Jerusalem. They destroyed the temple, and so they forcefully convert Jewish individuals to the religion of that day. So you remember the conquest of Babylon, right? So that's throughout history. If either the Babylonians wanted them to be Babylonians, and then throughout history, of course, the Roman Empire became the dominant religion at the time. So they forced them to be the Catholics. So even now, Jewish people think of all. That's why all Christians, in the eyes of the Jewish people, they think that all Christians are Catholics. So they have that seemingly negative thing on all Christians. They see it like, oh, it's negative. So also the theological error that we see here is, when all Jews are baptized, they become Catholics. The Bible, they use this one as their go-to verse, that when all Israel will be saved. This all Israel will be saved, that they will all convert all Jewish people into Catholics, and then the Messiah will come. Right? When Jesus comes back Jesus will come back when all Jews become Christians, which is of course a lie. Jesus will come back. Yeshua will come back. If many Jews will believe in Yeshua or not, he will come back. And that is certain. Number two, of course, there's forced Catholic conversions and baptisms by sword. We see that this is during the Inquisitions, right? This is the why there is world domination, because of the Catholic conversions. And of course, it is church sanctioned in the Inquisitions. The start of the Inquisitions is not really to wipe away the Muslim presence in Israel, but while the Inquisitions are going to Israel, all of the Jewish individuals that they would pass through, all the villages and towns, they would wipe them off. And then the final Inquisition would be the wiping of the Muslim presence in Jerusalem. So, number two, the Jewish people, they don't have no right to live among us. So with this one, they would banish and they would confine Jewish individuals into the earliest, let's say, the ghettos or the pogroms. Even during the early Tsarist Empire, there were already areas in Russia where they bring in Jewish individuals to banish them or to confine them in their area. And they said, of course, we don't bother them, they don't bother us. But it didn't really happen. See, that's the plot. If you have watched the Fiddler on the Roof, that's the plot of the Fiddler on the Roof movie. They confine them to ghettos. They are expelled from their towns that they call, even though they bought the land, they farmed there. They were blamed for, as we said, they were blamed for all the ills and the problems of society. In 1492, of course, Columbus, right? We remember Columbus that sailed the ocean free. But of course, we know also that Columbus was a Jew. And he has a reason why he joined the expedition to go and look for other countries or lands, because he wanted to go and look for a new Canaan land for the Jews during that Spanish Inquisition. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, of course, they kicked all the Jews out of Spain. They didn't know that Columbus was a Jew. We have several letters that Columbus sent to his son that has inscribed letters, and there's the signs of Jews. Bravo, Bet, and Hey on top of the letter, and it says Baruch Hashem on top of his letter. So that's a sign that he is a Jew, and that's how we always send out letters to Baruch Hashem on the right side or on the points of the letter. So now, even though, and then of course, we remember Martin Luther, right? The great reformer. who has a changed attitude when he reformed from the Catholic Church, when he put his 99 theses in the door of, what's that church again?
There's 95 theses on the church door in Wittenberg on
Wittenberg,
October 31st,
yes.
1517.
1517. He was thinking that he became the propagator of the doctrine of came up with justification of faith, right? The very theology that pushed Reformation and started the whole Reformation in the European area. He was thinking that, of course, that if the doctrines of the Catholic Church would be exposed, then the Jewish people will be more open to the good news, to the gospel. But when they resisted this theology of justification by faith, Martin Luther got mad at them. He got mad at them, so he published already the book concerning the Jews and their lies in 1543. That started the advocacy. And that started the advocacy of the destruction of Jewish homes and synagogues, and as well as, of course, the expulsion of the Jews from Germany. So he said that so that you and we may all be free of this inseparable devilish burden, the Jews. And that's in his book. This is a wrong attitude. And he has a wrong attitude, although, of course, he started the Great Reformation. But that is a very wrong attitude. And also, of course, you know what? You can love the Lord. But if you have a wrong attitude, it's still a lie. It's still wrong to do so. This attitude was used by Adolf Hitler, this justification to terminate the Jews years later. Number 3, the Jews have no right to live. That's the final section, right? To exterminate them. That's why the first crusades in Metz, France, of the Roman Catholic massacre of Jews in France, and then went through the Middle Ages, the bubonic plague, and the Black Bible. The Jews was, of course, as I have said a while back, people would always look for someone to blame with all of the problems of the world. And during that time, they have a problem with diarrhea, they have a problem with sickness in medieval Europe, and all of these things. And they don't know with all of their good doctors and whatever scientists, they can't find a solution. So what do? They blame the Jews. They blame the Jews that they were trying to poison the wells, the rivers, the lakes of Europe. And that's why here they blame it for the Black Death. And do you know why also that they designed the Black Death like this, the long nose? Because Jews have long nose, right? And they connected that with that. And then, of course, the blood libel. The blood libel was this blood libel. It started beforehand, before medieval Europe. They accused the Jews of kidnapping children and getting their blood, and used this to make matzah during Passover. Do you remember that in Passover we drink cups, 4 cups. They said that, where do they get this blood? lots of blood. So they said that they're kidnapping children. They're mixing it up in their holidays. And even at this time, that is the propaganda of the Hamas or the Islamic religion right now. The bloodline that they are after. The Jews are bloodthirsty. They get the blood of children of Muslim children, and they mix it up during Passover and cook it in matzah. It's a lie. And of course, the ultimate final solution is when Hitler came. When Hitler read the publication of Martin Luther, this became, as we said a while back, give give the people and give the governing authority the right environment, the right situations, and they would do these things. So what did they do? Of course, in Poland and in the trains, they gathered all of the Jewish peoples, individuals, and you know Holocaust, right? And that one thing that people don't really understand is the German people at the time, the Nazi right would like to make experiments on the Jewish people. So that is why they separated women, men, young, old, blonde, black, uh, the eyes, good teeth, everything. They made. Do you know what is the reason why they put them in the ovens? Because they would like also to collect the fat that comes from the body, and they would like that to be used as soap. The skin they would like to make it into lamp shapes. The hair, you know why they uh, collected the hair? It's not that they have the hair. Uh, they don't have lice. Uh, it's not that they have lice, but they wanted the hairs to be processed as uh, pillows in exchange for downs. So, how do you like or how do you feel using uh, those? So, right? It's uh, it's evil. Now, let's see. If you have never read or studied or you know flipped over some of the books that are written in Holocaust, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing. What we know right now, what is being taught in the universities, in the schools, is just a portion of it. It's just nothing. But it shows us this one. It shows us that the depravity of man's heart. And of course, Germany at the time was a solid Catholic country. That is why when the trains come, the Protestant churches, they put their organs at loud sound, so that when the trains are coming, oh no, here are the Jews coming. Let's sing. Let's sing loud. Let's sing loud. I know a guy, Michael, who is already old, and he was joining us before in here. And when he was a young boy, he heard no sounds coming. The sounds of the trains, and the church put their organs also to high-pitched tones. Go Christian soldiers marching us to war.
Or another one, The Silent Night.
So what good that came out of it? So right now, probably you would understand the thinking. What is to the Jew? What is in his mind right now, right? If we share the good news, because he thinks of us believers in Yeshua as Catholics, and the Catholics were Protestants, also the Christian community at the time. Where were they? Where is God during the Holocaust? Right? That's what they were always thinking. That was they were thinking. But of course, there are people also during the time. You might remember Corey Ten Boom and the others during their time, right? But yeah, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, it's not the majority.
I think Bonhoeffer was a Lutheran. Maybe he disagreed with Martin Luther on those things.
Yeah. What good came out of it? God preserved them. God still preserved them. God opened a door for them. This is the start of the rebirth of the nation of Israel, right? We know that Hitler failed, but God did not. What we see here is man did this horrible thing. It's because of the heart. Man, in his depraved nature, in his depraved condition, did all of these things. That is why we can say that we needed a Messiah. That's why we needed a Savior. That's why we needed to grasp on the promises of the Torah. Because the human heart is wicked. We are desperately deceived from all of this. Right? So the world, this is the scheme of the world, the anti-Semitism right now. We have identified the Jews. They don't follow what we do. They have no right to live as Jews. They have no right to live among us. They have no right to live. It's the final solution. So here in Lamentations chapter 1 verse 12, it says there, is it nothing to you, all you who pass by, behold and see, if there is sorrow like my sorrow? Meaning to say, now we are looking at the sorrows of Israel, how they're going through. Is it nothing for us? Are we just going to stand by and see what they're going through? Okay, so the question is, this happened. It's happening again. And it's going still to be happening. It's going to happen. And what are we going to do? What are we doing behind the scenes or up front and as a congregation? Now, the results of anti-Semitism in general, this includes the Christian and Messianic communities, the whole world. The results of anti-Semitism is, of course, the misconceptions and stereotypes that still exist and being propagated. What are these misconceptions? What are these stereotypes? That all Jews are the same. Right? Can you identify a Jew when you are in a crowd? Are you able to identify them? Of course, number one, you would say, oh, he has that, Jewish nose. He looks like a Jew. Maybe if we know the names, his surname would be Cohen or Steinberg or Silver or yes. These are like automatic things already to know that they are Jews, right? However, not all Jews look like Jews. We have Jews from we have Jews from all colors already. We have Jews from China. We have Jews from Americas, the America. We have Jews from South America. We have Jews from Canada. We have Jews all over the world.
There are Ethiopian Jews too.
Ethiopian Jews,
Yep.
yes, Ethiopian Jews. Many nations in Africa identify to be Jews, and they do not all look alike. So we cannot say that, oh, these are Jews, and we segregate them and everything. And of course, number two, all Jews are rich. Is it? Of course, that's not true. There are, of course, Jewish individuals who are rich. They become successful in their professions. They become good doctors. They become good lawyers. They become good bankers. They become they have actors in Hollywood that are Jews, and they're very prominent individuals. But not all of them are rich. Right? I have been volunteering with the Jewish community for a long time, and I have delivered food to Jewish people in the city. And I've seen, of course, many people that are rich. They donate a large sum of money to the University of Calgary for the cancer research center and everything. They're wealthy, but there are also individuals are not that rich. And let us, of course, all people look different. All of us too look different, right? And not all people are rich. Not all people. Oh, here's the thing too. That because Jewish individuals are good bankers, that they sometimes I heard this word that they can cheat you out of your money. Some individuals who work for big companies like that slaughterhouse south of Calgary. He said, "Oh, because it's owned by the Jewish people, by a Jew, so they're pushing us to work and work and work and work. Because they don't care about the people. They just wanted the money." So that's a stereotype. That's a misconception. We don't keep them all in the same category. Here, you remember this one? Of course, this is a postcard in the 1910, and it's during this period, many postcards and businesses were propagated because at that time, they own Jewish people earn most of the jewelry shops, and people would go often there and give their gold and exchange money from there. And they say, "Oh, it's such a business. Jews will get money from you." Right? You see that the news, you get an open hand, and you see that devilish smile. That's a propaganda, right? Yeah, that long nose with the hands out, devilish smile. All they care about was your money. They will get your money out of you. And that's where the word Jew, or you're a Jew, right? So when you try a business transaction with someone and you'd like to get something out of that person, you would say, "You're Jewing me." Because of that. Jews control the world. Okay, all Jews are the same. All Jews are rich. And Jews are in control of banks, media, commerce, and the government. Right? They're good in finances. So that's why they, Rothschild, right? Rothschild was the biggest banker in Europe. So said that, oh, they control the whole world, they control commerce, they control everything. Media, the States, Facebook now, of course, owned by a Jew. Most of our apps in our phones are Israeli made, and commerce and government say they always connect what's the U.S. to Israel. What's happening all over the world is because of the Jews. So yes, we blame all the Jews because of all of this. But no, that's not. That's a conspiracy. Here, see, this is in 1898. This poster was brought out in 1898. The Rothschild family here was portrayed as craving the world domination. And it didn't end in 1898. This is our typical modern caricature right now. That the Rothschild now controls the world, so he has all of these countries drinking from his milk. And it's a misconception, right? Of course, all of these misconceptions came originally to these two books. These two books, it came from an anti-Semitic publication that is put out in earlier 1900s, earlier 1800s. They are put out by the this one, by the Okwana, or the Tsarist secret Russian police in earlier 1800s. And this one it's German. It's translated into German, but there's another one that is written in Russian, which is the protocols of the elders of Zion. It's published in German in 1881, but there is a publication that is written earlier in Russia, and this is before the communist Russia. And Russia was, of course, during at that time, Russia was going into a deep economic depression, and people were poor. People were looking for something and somebody to blame. And of course, they pointed their fingers to the Jewish people. Now, this book portrays that there is a secret association of Jewish organizations conniving and secretly planning to take over the government. First in Russia, and then, of course, world dominion. The banks, they would have control of the media all over. It's a lie. And then, of course, this one, it went to America. There's another one after this. There's a book that is published by Henry Ford. It was written to, of course, redirect the anger, the steam of dissatisfaction of the people on their current leadership of government. And during that time, this time is the Tsarists of Russia. And of course, it was spread throughout the world. And even today, this one, you would have a PDF material of this in Google. And this is one of the books that Hamas has put into their constitutional bylaws, or what we call it, the charter of the Hamas government, because they believe that Israel is conniving of everything and would have control over the world. The protocols of the learned elders of Zion. You could download that in the internet easily. And if you would go into the charter of Hamas, then they would be mentioning this book. And that's why the reason of their bloodthirsty of Israel. And this is proving, of course, that the Jews are trying to take over the world. And that's where the word occupiers come from. Right? They would like to dominate the world and they occupy a certain land or a country. Now in the US, of course, this one in the 1930s, Henry Ford, the industrialist, of course, he read the protocols and then he republished an American version. It's called Dearborn Independent. So every Ford company during that time have a copy of this. Every dealer, agent of the Ford company needs to learn this Dearborn Independent copy. So he disseminated it to all of his dealers and to give an extra copy to people who would be buying the car. Buying a car. So the enemy, of course, everyone has a copy during the time. So that's why it said here that every patriotic American must read this protocol. And people believed it. But of course, later in life, Henry Ford apologized. But it was too late already. The damage has been done. And even at this time, people in the United States believed on this. That's why all of social media is filled with hatred to Jewish individuals. All lies, all fake, yet people believe. That's why we said, right? If you repeat it all the time, you repeat it, it becomes true. But it's time for us to learn and not ignore it. Right? Of course, letter D, Jews are to be blamed for the death of Christ. Right? In the Bible, it says, who killed Christ?
No one. He gave his life by himself.
Yes, yes. If we go to Acts chapter 4, verse 27, it would say all there who are those supposed to be blamed. No one, but of course all of us are implicated. The Jews, the non-Jews, and everyone. Jews did not kill Christ only. But if we blame anybody, it's all of us. All of us, Jews and Gentiles, needed Christ. And that is the reason why he came down to die for us. Who is really to blame? Us. Because it's us who sinned. It's us who brought his love to the cross. Right? In Europe, there is a practice, I think it's here. In Europe, there is a practice during Lenten season, during Holy Week, that they would seek out a Jewish individual in the community and bring him out and slap him in the face during Holy Week because they are to be blamed in killing Jesus Christ. And for many in history also, Jewish people in Europe has to use the horn hats to identify them as Jews. So the idea of Hitler putting a star on the Jewish people during Holocaust is not original. It was in medieval Europe still, because they are considered to be the devil's children. From the book of Martin Luther, marking them like rounding them up in the Holocaust. Hitler didn't come originally with that. And as we said, you know why he was nearly successful? Because he has the machinery. Hitler has the machinery in doing things. He has that technology at the time to do it. He has the people at the time to do it. What was the situation people were so down. They were just after a depression, right, during World War One, and no, somebody has to be blamed on all of this. So he blamed it on the Jews, and the situation at the time. Why they said that the final solution, right? Why do they term it final solution? So that the problems of this world will all be gone when the Jewish people will all be exterminated. So with this attitude, we can never have if we have this attitude, we'll never have a love for the Jewish people, and nor to anybody. It will always hinder us in our motivation for witnessing. So what we can learn here is if you hate a people, if you will hate somebody, if you will hate an individual, you would never have the compassion nor the love to share the gospel with that individual. Because you hate him so much, right? You wanted him to go to hell. That's how lacking the grace of God. Now the assumption, of course, the assumption that Christians hated the Jews, the belief that Christians hate the Jews, the reason why it is difficult for Jewish people to feel welcome and accepted into, let's say, common Christian or westernized Christianity right now is because of the predominant thinking that we are killing their souls. That the Catholic religion brought them the Holocaust, the Protestant religion brought them the Holocaust, and even right now, that is why they wouldn't even step foot on a Christian church, because of this misconception. We have our misconceptions, they have their own misconceptions too, and we needed to bridge that misconceptions. And how, of course, churches, even right now, I don't know if there are churches that are openly non-welcoming to Jews. They are coming in, Jews come in the church because they don't want to be identified as Jews. But if they identify as Jews, then there might be a big problem out of that because of the misconception that the Jews killed Christ. They are Christ killers.
But which churches do that? I haven't heard of them. I mean, I'm sure there are bad people around, but
Yes.
There are some very prominent Christian churches that I've seen, particularly in the States, where they are openly preaching hatred towards the Jews because God hates the Jews. They're to hate the Jews also.
they're not.
And they're very outspoken.
Doesn't sound like a Christian church to me.
Well,
Go ahead.
do you mind? Just a couple of quick comments, if you don't mind, brother. When you look at, rather than the Jews being these leeches and money grubbers and control and all, take a look at how many Nobel Prizes have been awarded to a Jew. Nobel Prizes in science, peace, art, literature, medicine, on and on and on it goes. Dozens and dozens.
Economics.
Huh?
Economics.
Economics, yeah, all of them. So only 9 million have won more Nobel Prizes than any other identifiable group.
Yeah.
Do you know how many Muslims have won Nobel Prizes? That the group that hates the Jews and wants them dead, the enemies of the Jews? 6. And they've got 1 point how many billion? So second point, just 3 points. Second point, the United Nations, when it was formed in 48-5, it has, we think it's a perfect place to visualize the hatred of Jews, because the United Nations has issued more condemnations of Israel than every other nation on earth combined together. The United Nations is corrupt as corrupt can be. And last comment, just something to consider. You had a slide up there that says, what is the reason for anti-Semitism? I'd like to suggest that there was 3 listed there. I'd like to suggest that there's actually a 4th. Because if you read the book of Deuteronomy, particularly chapter, let's say 28, God makes it very clear. He's talking to Israel as a nation, right? Not as individuals, but as a nation. God makes it very clear. If you obey my instructions, these are the blessings that you will see. If you disobey my instructions, these are the curses that will come upon you. And if you read the curses, what we've seen, certainly for over 2,000 years, almost 3,000 years, to, let's say 2,600 years, those curses is exactly what the Jews have experienced around the world. Exactly what God said would happen. Because I don't think any of this could take place if God ultimately was not orchestrating it. Yeah. So today, are the Jews as a nation obedient to God's instructions? Some are. Not many. The vast minority. Right? It's a very secular nation. And I think that we can't lose sight of that. It's not like, you know, God is controlling what's going on, including anti-Semitism. And I think to a large extent, that is a big part of the reason why. That's all I want.
The biggest question that Jews actually have, why did God allow the Holocaust? We are talking about human impressions from Jews, from Christians, their interpretation. But we have to talk about God's interpretation, not about this, not about propaganda.
So, I wanted to say something like Brother Andrew's objection. I kind of understand the fact where it's kind of coming from, in the sense that sometimes anti-Semitism is not open, but it's covert, right? It's kind of built into the teaching, right? So for example, some of the teachings and the beliefs. So for example, the teaching of the rapture. The belief is that because the Jews rejected Christ, they will be left behind in the tribulation, and they would suffer the time of Jacob's trouble, right? So the faithful believers and the Christians will be taken away in the rapture, and the Jews will be left behind to suffer in the great tribulation. Such a teaching, for example, is anti-Semitic, but it's not, it's not in your face.
Okay, so we have a few minutes left, and I would just like to go through this, and then we will continue our discussions later, or on the coming after this one. So it would be nice to, sit down and have this ones. Of course, number one, our response to anti-Semitism. Let us all be informed. Okay? That, of course, how we, being believers in Messiah Yeshua, we need to walk by faith in spirit. Walking by faith in spirit, of course, we don't propagate prejudicing attitudes toward the Jews or to anybody that is different from us. Let us be informed on how the biblical role of Jewish people in ecclesiology and the world to come. What is their role? So, of course, as Brother Edwin was mentioning a while back, because of the doctrine of dispensationalism, This one has been planted in many of the pulpits right now. And we are instigating hate to the Jewish people because of the teaching of the hardcore dispensationalists. Another one, let us be sensitive and improve our relational ways in sharing the good news to the Messiah. So that's why when you go to your dentist, you go to your medical doctor, you know that he's a Jew. And look for ways to be sensitive in showing that you care for their souls too. Right? You can. We are the distributors of Jewish Bibles, Hebrew Bibles here in Alberta. And you could just let me know if you needed something. When you go visit your dentist, you go visit your doctor. Leave a Tanakh, leave like a Hebrew Bible in the office. And those are discreet ways to show the gospel to them. Also, let us be knowledgeable and proactive on dangers of stereotyping. So we know that there are many people who hate the Jews out there and who just spew out words against them. But if we come to be in contact with them, we can help in letting them know, in understanding the Jews, that not all Jews are the same. Right? Not all Jews are leeches. Not all Jews are money grabbers or whatever. Number two, let us participate in and support constructive political, social, and religious actions that combats anti-Semitism. We have organizations here in Calgary that are open to individuals who are non-Jews so that we could stand with Israel. As long as we have freedom, we do have a voice. But if our freedom has been taken away from us, then we don't have a voice already. We need allies that are self-controlled in the spirit and speaking the truth in love. So here is a quote from Martin Niemöller. He's a Lutheran pastor, 1892 to 1984. He said, in Germany, they came first for the communists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for the trade unionists. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for Catholics. I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me. And by that time, no one was left to speak up. That's our onus. The onus is on you. The onus is on us. Proverbs 24, 11 to 12. In closing, you have your Bibles with you. Okay, let me know if you are there. And of course, just a few minutes. Proverbs 24. I needed to change my Bible already. The lights here are 24, verse 11 and 12. Rescue those who are being taken away to death, and those who staggered to the slaughter, or hold them back from their doom. If you claim ignorance and say, see, we did not know this, does he not consider it who weighs and examines the hearts and the motives? And does he know it who guards your life and keeps your soul? And will he not repay you in every man according to his works? See? So, ignorance is not an excuse. God will evaluate us according to our works, according to our love for Israel, according to how we see Israel, how we deal with the Jewish people by how they're being treated, how they're being persecuted, how they're being killed right now, what's happening in Israel, the many wars that they are going through. And if we do nothing, God will hold us accountable to that we haven't done nothing to them. Right? according to Proverbs 24. And lastly, of course, we need to share the good news of the Messiah. It says in our Bibles that, of course, to the Jew first and then to the Gentiles. We give them the hope, we give them the promise of their Messiah, that their life is good. The Jews will think that, of course. I don't know if you have thought of this too, that sharing the gospel to them would be the most anti-Semitic thing that we would ever do with them. Right? With the reasons that we have said a while back. With Jews being Christ killers. They would say, oh, you would cause them. Actually, one of the things that I heard with anti-missionaries means Jews for Judaism, or Jewish people who would try to prevent people in sharing the good news with Jewish individuals, is they said that you would be killing the soul of the Jewish individual. Because if they believe in the Jewish Messiah, which is Yeshua Messiah, then their Jewishness would be removed from them. So you would be killing the Jewish soul in them. And haven't you noticed, if you are in the mind, stand back and think that you are a Jew right now. If you think of Jesus Christ now, you being a Jew, then you would think that Jesus would be the reason of all your troubles. Right? You're a Jew. That is why the Bible also says that Yeshua Messiah is the stumbling block. Right? Because when we come to that point, everything will be different when we see Yeshua to be our Messiah. See? And of course, for us, we know differently. And these are groups that look for people like us. Hatred. And they will learn about us. People, they're surrounding us are Jewish people. And we are concerned about their salvation, about them knowing their Messiah. But they would also be concerned about us, because they know in their minds, with these misconceptions, that we are a threat to them. Because we would be making every effort to share the gospel with them too. And I would like to encourage you to join us. Learning Hebrew is a step towards that, right? Learning how to say shalom to a Jewish individual. We have the you know shalom, right? You know the word. Then it would have the barrier between you and them would be open in sharing the good news. We need you to be an ally and support them, because in this we are following what the Bible has been prophesying to us and to them. Right? So shalom, everyone. That's the end of our lesson. If you like to receive the additional readings, additional movies that I'm going to send to you on this course, send me your email and I will send it to you. And there are also projects that you need to do, like visiting a Jewish cemetery in Calgary and see. Just look around and see. Or give you some tips on how to attend a Jewish synagogue, and how to be acceptable in this synagogue, how to talk to them with sensitivity and everything. So if you're interested, let me know. Give you all of this information. Let us close our units to change the. Let's close our service today. Let's all stand up and let us say the blessing. Brother Wesley, are you able to go to the shofar, please? the shofar is over there on our Chodesh. Are you able to read this one? No? How do you can? Shall we give the blessing? May it be your will, O Lord, our God, and God of our fathers, that you renew for us a good man in our Lord Yeshua of the Son. Amen. Let us hear the shofar sound. Chodesh Tov, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, and may your Shabbat be restful. We have table fellowship after this, so refreshments.